what exactly is autism and why is it known as a spectrum disorder? Years back, when more research was coming out about autism and all the different spectrums, you didn't hear it called a spectrum disorder. You would hear it classified as low functioning autism, Asperger's, high functioning autism, and so on and so forth, right? Nowadays, though, it's all lumped in together and categorized as just autism spectrum disorder. Because as more and more research has been discovered, they realize that really it's all on the same spectrum. There's no need to define it by different things. That's very old school, and psychologists, psychiatrists, doctors, they've all done away with all of the old fashioned terms. So, what we know is that autism is a developmental and neurological condition that affects communication, behavior, learning, and social interaction. It is considered a spectrum, which means autistic people have a wide range of strengths and different needs of support. And we also know that mental health plays a major role in the lived experience of many people that do have autism. And research has shown high rates of co occurring conditions with autism. So, like I said, it's defined as a developmental disability, and that's caused by differences in the brain. Our brains are so complex that even now, with all the research that neurologists, psychologists, psychiatrists, scientists have all poured into the human brain, they still haven't discovered everything. It's that complex, which I find very fascinating. So, it typically appears in the first 2 years of life in a person. That's why autism is genuinely nowadays discovered quite young. Whereas before, not much was known about it, and it might not be discovered until a little later in life. Now, thankfully, with all the research, like I said, that has been done concerning autism, doctors are able to detect autism much earlier. So, usually, it's detected in the first 2 years of life. And it affects how a person communicates, it affects how they interact socially, and how they engage in behaviors or interests. Key characteristics can include challenges with back and forth conversation with people, interpreting facial expressions in others, and understanding other people's perspectives. They may have repetitive behaviors and very focused interests. They thrive on routine. They may have repetitive movements or a very deep interest in a very limited and specific topics. You know, it could be like somebody with autism, they maybe just their only interest is insects or baseball or cats or something like that. Very limited, or it could be a few different interests, but just those few different interests. They have sensory differences. They may have very heightened or a reduced sensitivity to sound, light, different textures. Some people with autism have to have very, very soft clothing, or maybe they can't stand the feel of tags on their clothes, so they have to have them removed. Different things like that. Maybe the seam on their socks just have to be so. That sort of thing. Or even temperature. They could be very sensitive to temperatures. They don't like to have maybe the room too hot, too cold. Again, the temperature just has to be just right. Same with their food, their liquids, things like that. Autism affects people of all races, genders, and backgrounds. And as I said, usually most are diagnosed before the age of 3, but some individuals can be diagnosed later. Nowadays, sometimes you even hear adults that are being diagnosed because, like I said, back when they were growing up, not much was known like it is now. So you might hear an adult say they were just diagnosed with autism, and that's why. There is no single known cause. You hear some people say that vaccines cause it and everything, but there is no single known cause as to why there's been a spike in autism. But genetics and environmental factors both play roles. That much we do know about autism. As time goes on and more research keeps being poured into autism, hopefully one day we will find out more about what causes it. Autism is lifelong. There is no cure for autism, but we do know that early support and intervention can improve communication, learning, and a person's daily functioning. We also know that mental health plays a major part of a person's autism experience. According to the DSM-5, the data summarized is about 70% of autistic individuals have at least one co-occurring mental health condition. About 40% have 2 or more. And in comparison, 20% of the general population has a mental health condition. Common co-occurring conditions with autism include anxiety disorders, depression, ADHD, sleep difficulties, and sensory-related stress. Why are these mental health challenges are common? Well, a lot of it, like I said, it just goes together with the sensory issues that are common with autism, the misperceptions of people in society, and then just how the brain and autism work together. And that can make a person's life very complicated. And that's why education about all of these mental health disorders, like I've been doing, are so very, very important, because the more you know, the more sympathetic, compassionate, empathetic, kind, understanding you can be to others. And in turn, that makes a person's life with any mental health disorder so much easier. Society needs to get back to being a lot more compassionate and understanding about mental health, disorders than they are. We seem to, as a society, be losing a lot of our empathy and compassion towards others. And that's why I make these videos, to encourage you, to give you hope, and to know that somebody out there cares, and to educate you. So let's try and practice from this week and here on out love, compassion, and understanding towards others. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that you will like it and share it. And don't forget to please like and subscribe to my channel. And I will see you next time. Take care. I love you. And more importantly, God loves you. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.